Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere near-ish where one of the cities competed in the NBA championship but lost. My name's Brian Engelman. Today, gotta get this hat straight. Today is, hi Nimbus. Today's the day I get back into the swing of things. Monday, June 23, 2025. And this is the TNAM Daily Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. I'm going to talk to you about my experience going to Indiana for the watch party. Game 7. There's not a lot of Game 7s. Last one was 2016. Tell you how it went. I'm sure you saw the headlines. We'll get into it. And then when that's done, if you're streaming this on the Unhappy Hour, I'm trying to give my cat a headbutt here so he knows he's appreciated. He's purring. If you're watching this on the Unhappy Hour YouTube channel, we'll get into the sports and then you can click it off if you just can't bear to handle discussing what's going on in the world. But I think most of our audience is a little bit more resilient than that. So I expect you to stick around while we discuss what are the odds of World War III happening now that the United States has bombed Iran. They've been asking for that for a long time. Hillary wanted it. John McCain wanted it. The deep state has wanted this for freaking ever. And so now they got it. What does it mean? Is the world a better place? Is it a worse place? We will unpack on today's show. So let's get into it. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe. Here's our intro, and we will get going.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Jump into the comments. Tell me where you're watching. Put your initials or your name and tell me where you're watching from. When the comments section starts filling up, I will go ahead and put the comments on the side of the screen, and we will incorporate your conversation into today's show. What is happening right now? Well, we're covering Iran is apparently bombing Qatar. Is that where we're at? Hang on, what did I just share? Am I in the right spot here? Yep, Doha, Qatar. I got some video we'll get to in a little bit. All right. Let's start today's program. All right. So to our sports viewers, welcome to the program. We do a show called the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Trying to get live here on Facebook. All right, good. We are live. And so being close to Indiana. And good morning, David. Hello. Being close to Indiana, I decided I was going to take my buddy over to the NBA Finals watch party. Got some tickets and wanted to go over and check it out. I'll tell you what, I can't recall a time where I've been in an environment like that, going from super energized, super excited to absolutely crushed. Tyrese Halliburton was having a great first quarter for the Pacers, and he's been a superstar throughout this NBA series. And in the first quarter, I mean, he hits 3 3-pointers and he's looking really good. You're like, all right, we got some energy here. Pacers have a couple point lead. They're competing really well. Oh boy. And then it happened. Tyrese went to move. You can see the snap, you can see the break, the tear, the Achilles pop. And, I tweeted out to ABC and ESPN, you got to stop showing this. This is a little gruesome. Show it once. If you want to recap it one more time, they seem to have played it a few extra times. And it's unfortunate because injuries really are the worst part of sports. Not a fan. And the energy in that room was just decimated. Absolutely decimated. And they fought. Pacers fought. They stayed pretty quick. They stayed pretty scrappy. Actually had a 1-point lead at halftime. Problem was they went back in the half and they had a chance to think about it. They're like, oh my gosh, we're 1 point ahead and we don't have our best player. And it's like, if they just could have kept playing without a break, I feel like that would have definitely been a benefit for the Indiana Pacers. Unfortunately, much like the 2016 Cleveland Indians when they had a rain delay and all the momentum in the world, it just took all the energy away. Energy is a thing. Loosh is a thing. And that rain delay in Cleveland gave the Chicago Cubs a World Series. After Raji Davis hit that home run to left field off of the cameraman's camera lens, spun it around. It was insane. All the momentum. That entire stadium was rocking. I mean, it was pulsating on the corner of 9th and Carnegie. And when that happened, the Cleveland Indians just went and sat down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I forget how long the delay actually was, but it felt like an eternity. By the time they came back, all that momentum was gone. Momentum is a thing. It's hard to quantify. It's like leadership. Do you have leadership or do you not have leadership? Do you have vision? Do you not have vision? And when the Pacers had time to think about, oh my gosh, we're going up against the MVP and now we don't have our best player, I think they overthought it and they came out really, really distraught in the second half. A lot of turnovers. McCollum was scoring points, but he was also turning it over a lot. And I mean, by the end, it was too much. I mean, the Thunder got a championship, but was it a cheap championship? You can only win the games in front of you with the teams in front of you. You can't blame the Thunder for playing the teams that they had to play. But, we got robbed. We got robbed of a Pacers Game 7 with Tyrese Halliburton against the Oklahoma City Thunder with SGA, who was the MVP. It was a good experience. Then we kind of hit the greater Indianapolis area. It's worth going to. Just got to go see the things in this world. And it's tricky right now because with the attacks on Iran, Sleeper cells have been activated, or they could be activated. So, do you have a plan in place? If you end up in the middle of something really weird, do you have a way to get out? It'd be a good idea if you had an idea. So, anyway, just wanted to give you that update there. Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, won the championship. SGA, the MVP of the league and the MVP of the finals. So now the Cleveland Cavaliers open up as the second highest favorites to win the NBA championship next year, aside from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we shall see how it goes. Also, in sports news, and then we'll wrap up and move on to other topics, of course. Actually, where is I have an ESPN page that I keep here, but I can't seem to locate it. Actually, I'm not seeing it at all. How's the Dow Jones doing today? 42.2. It's roughly even, up 22 points. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention was that Kevin Durant has been traded, and the NBA championship odds have been shaken up. Cavs are now tied with the Rockets at plus 800, followed by the New York Knicks at plus 850. Houston acquires Kevin Durant, and the Pacers fell from 10-1 odds to 40-1 odds at ESPN Bet after the Halliburton injury. Celtics were the favorites, but of course they had Jason Tatum rehabbing an Achilles injury. Jason Tatum had Achilles, and Tyrese Halliburton had an Achilles, and Damian Lillard had an Achilles. Why are there so many Achilles injuries in the NBA? Just brutal. And it's kind of like you have a calf injury, and then the calf connected with the Achilles. Often the calf injury can lead to an Achilles, and Donovan Mitchell was having a problem with his calf. So, I'm glad he got through this season with a. I just hope we can find out what's going on. Is there something with the different shoes that they're wearing? Is there something different about the court? Something about the training? Something about their supplements? I don't know what's going on. I don't remember this number of high profile. It's bad for the game. Injuries are the worst part of sports, and Achilles. I mean, you're out for 2 years. Deshaun Watson had it. Blew out his Achilles, and then he's training, and then he blows it out. And after the surgery, had to get it done a second time. It's brutal. No wonder they call it the Achilles heel, where our hero was dipped by the Achilles, and that was the one spot that could get you. I mean, they knew all the way back then that the Achilles was a big deal. So anyway, that's what's going on in the world of sports. And let me see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. I guess let me tell you that the Suns sent 15-time NBA All-Star Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in this year's draft, and 5 second-round picks. So there you go. So that's happening. All right. Real quick, other news. Shohei Ohtani is back pitching. He's back second game pitching. He's been out for a while with his injuries, but it's good to see him back on the field. Just, I don't know. I don't know what we can do to minimize the injuries, but it would be for the benefit of everyone if we could. All right. David saying things are moving quickly. Yes, they are. So let's jump into the news. Of course, the U.S. bombed Iran. So let's go through some memes to try to explain it. Tank Sinatra says, or what is this? Americans, we just bombed Iran. Me, I didn't do effing S. I didn't do nothing. Does anyone know if we have war tomorrow? Yeah, I didn't do nothing. Okay. All right, anyway, that was the one I wanted to share with you. This is next level ascension if you can reach it. This is a visual interpretation of what happens when you're black and gay on the 19th of Pride Month. It's just, whoa, enter another dimension there. Everything is happening on Juneteenth. If you're black and gay on the 19th of Pride Month, like enter a portal, a vortex. Yes, my show's a little disjointed. This is what happens when you are your own producer. You take the stories as you shared them. Previous Brian shared these stories to talk to you today through current Brian. All right, here's JD Vance discussing what's going on with Iran, the United States, the Middle East, all of it.
United States now at war with Iran.
No, Kristen, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program. And let me just say, Kristen, that we're incredibly grateful and proud of the American Air Force pilots who did an incredible job last night. The operation was really extraordinary. These guys flew from Missouri. They didn't land a single time. They dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a target the size of a washing machine, and then got back home safely without ever landing in the Middle East or ever stopping other than to briefly refuel. And of course, they did that in the air. So it's really an incredible operation, a testament to the power of American military. And I think what shows what can happen when you have that great American military in the hands of capable presidential leadership. What we did is we destroyed the Iranian nuclear program. I think we set that program back substantially, and we did it without endangering the lives of the American pilots. That's an incredible thing, and I think we all should be proud. Whatever our politics, we should be proud of what these guys accomplished. A very, very high impact mission under a lot of pressure.
Is the United States now at war with Iran?
So, in the comments it says, that's our next president, folks. Like, he does a good job. He does a good job kind of putting things together. He's acting the part. Like, if I had to imagine a 4-year term of JD Vance, whether you agree with his policies or disagree with his policies, as we will with everybody, this position does not seem too bright for him. This doesn't seem too big for him to conquer. He feels at home. Watching him, I feel as though he's in his element. You're out of your element, Donnie. Question of the day. What is that from? Type it in the comments. By the way, if you haven't hit liked or hit subscribe, please do so. And if you haven't dropped a comment yet, say hello. But they're saying that it might be difficult to unpack the damage, the assessment. What is it? The BDA, battle damage assessment? Maybe that's the term that they use. And then hearing now that maybe their nuclear program wasn't hit, or only part of it was hit. Just like with Iraq. Remember, weapons of mass destruction? Oh, Bush is such an idiot. He's such an idiot. There were no weapons of mass destruction. See, he lied. They lied us into war. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Remember all that? And that's a fair point, right? Pretty fair point. Look, they had time to get all that stuff out of Iraq. They stalled and stalled and stalled. By the time Iran went to the international, atomic energy, was it the IAEA? Iran fell out of compliance. By the time they fell out of compliance, why wouldn't you believe that they got their stuff out of there? The 3 places that they knew other people would know about. This doesn't mean that they're out of the woods. This doesn't mean that the mission is complete. Remember that on the battleship or the large vessel? I don't know what type of ship it was. But with George Bush, it said, mission complete. Well, are there going to be sleeper cells? Are there going to be attacks? Yes, there are attacks. Maybe I will actually do... Maybe I will actually do it this way. I want to show you what we have on our X feed. Let's start with this one. Luke Radowski sharing this. Air defenses have been activated over Doha, Qatar. Who's the panicking now?
Allahu Akbar. Madam.
Of course, within 1 second, you have to yell Allah Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Madam.
Allahu Akbar. How long has the Allah Akbar been going on? The global push for caliphate to dominate every square inch of the planet with Islam. It's been going on for a long time. Sorry, that wasn't the point of this video, but like within 1 second, I'm like, oh God, like this is never going to stop.
Allahu Akbar.
God is great. Okay.
Madam.
Because remember, that's what screamed at how many murderous attacks over the past 30 years that we've witnessed. Over and over again. It's the refrain of, okay, well, here comes a tornado. You can hear it. It sounds like a train. Yeah, well, when the Islamic terror attack comes, it sounds like Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Madam.
Anyway. This is allegedly over Doha, Qatar. Every video, you got to say allegedly, like, do we know what's happening? I don't really have context on this video. Are any of these being intercepted? It looks like you're doing some explosion with stuff. The bold strategy because it really controls the basement.
Allahu Akbar. Madam.
Well, anyway. That's happening there. Iran is launching missiles at U.S. bases in Qatar, Iraq, Bahrain, and Kuwait. The Ayatollah just signed his death warrant, they say. There are reports of Iran launching 6 ballistic missiles at the U.S. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. It's been empty for days, says Ari Hoffman. The Iranians are doing this to save face and claim victory over the great Satan. Sirens now sounding in Bahrain.
Attack launched by the U.S. Massive attack that was launched by and unprecedented attack launched by the U.S. Again, we're getting this from Iranian state TV, but we have 3 new pieces of information that I want to get your reaction to. One is this attack. The second is that sirens are sounding not just at that base, but in Bahrain and Kuwait as well. And you have the president, defense secretary, and other key members of the administration in the Situation Room.
Well, the report was that there were half a dozen missiles, and we don't know how accurate that.
Massive.
I love how they clip that. The whole segment is setting up the question, and then they just move on from it. All right, yeah, take a look at the map. These are all the U.S. bases in the region. Iran is massive. How many people live in Iran? In the comment section, do you know? Now that Tucker Carlson quizzed Ted Cruz, did you watch the video? Do you know how many people are in Iran? Iran. How do you pronounce it? Iran. Iran, Turkey, Syria, Iraq. You got Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE. This is expanding. What is this? For those missing the map, closing the straits will pit the world's richest countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. Yeah, all right. There's some analysis. They're saying they might close down the straits. Air sirens going off. Here's a new video. Iranian missiles being intercepted by U.S. air defense systems over the skies of Kuwait. Uh-oh, you got some music in the background. Gotta mute that, you know. So there's that. What is this? Yep, Iran has struck U.S. bases. All right. So that's happening now as we speak. All right, let's go back to our Instagram feed. Yes, David knows it. David, you're so good. Here, let's put David up. We'll do comments. 92 million. It's the power of an internet clip going viral. I know it's 92 million now. I didn't know that before. And that's a fair question. How much of a difference would it make? $92 million, $50 million, $100 million. I don't know. So this is all happening. This is all sort of developing now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of these reactions that I have here on our Instagram feed, and then we'll go back to X and go through, and we'll make sure that we scan for any breaking news. And by the way, if there's any stories you want me to get to that I haven't had a chance to address, type it in the comments, please. And I will try to look it up and make sure I do a search and see if I can find something to share with you, okay? All right, let's move on off of J.D. Vance. Grant Godwin here says, remember when President Trump posted an American flag after taking out Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani? Well, he just did it again. There you go. Donald J. Trump posts the American flag again. Well, let's try to compare American foreign policy. Let's compare President Trump to Barack Hussein Obama.
The issue of Iran. Yep. As long as I'm president of the United States, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon.
Oh.
I made that clear when I came into office. We then organized.
I made that clear when I came to office. Okay, you did, but then you sent them pallets of cash from some arms deal in the 80s. And then you gave all the interest. And there's so many sanctions, you couldn't just do a bank transfer. You had to deliver literal pallets of cash. Literal pallets of cash. But just by words only. I mean, Obama's saying the same thing.
The strongest coalition and the strongest sanctions against Iran in history. And it is crippling their economy. Their currency has dropped 80%. Their oil production has plunged to the lowest level since they were fighting a war with Iraq 20 years ago. So their economy is in a shambles. And the reason we did this is because a nuclear Iran is a threat to our national security, and it's a threat to Israel's national security. We cannot afford to have a nuclear arms race in the most volatile region of the world. Iran's a state sponsor of terrorism, and for them to be able to provide nuclear technology to non-state actors, that's unacceptable. And they have said that they want to see Israel wiped off the map. The issue of Iran.
And yet here we are. Sometimes it feels like there's nothing we can do to change the path of what the deep state sets out for us. I played you a couple days ago, Wesley Clark, who said, 7 countries in 7 years or 5 countries in 5 years. I forget exactly. But it was just like after 9/11, they had a grand plan. And then you go, well, was this a grand plan in response, or was this a grand plan to issue a false flag and then take you where you want to go? People don't generally want to send their family members to war, generally speaking. You have to sort of have a reason, whether it's the Gulf of Tonkin, whether it's Operation Northwoods, trying to pin it on Cuba, whether it's 9/11, Pearl Harbor. It's a lot of times there needs to be an event, something that could spark enough outrage. But this one is kind of weird. It was sort of like Iran just absorbed the Israel attack, and then it seems like Israel just volunteered us to drop these bunker buster bombs. I mean, is that to say that they're not in coordination? Is Israel America's 51st state? Who's in charge of foreign policy? Is it the United States? Or did we get sucked into something without asking for it? I think it's a fair question to ask. And I think it's fair that we demand some answers. But yeah, Barack Obama sounding just like President Trump about Iran. There was only really one acceptable position on this topic for a long time with many of the largest political players in the Republican and Democrat Party. And that was that they cannot allow themselves, these politicians allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. So were they close to getting nuclear weapons? Well, maybe. What I can tell you is that they've been talking about it like the boy crying wolf for 40 years. But playing devil's advocate, I said, well, Terminator 2 was warning us about AI and computers taking control of the planet for 40 years. Well, it didn't happen. Well, it could happen, and we're starting to see it get even closer and closer now. So was that the boy crying wolf, or maybe we should have listened? Can it be both? Maybe it can be both. Anyway, it's just interesting to hear 2012 Obama talking just like 25 Trump. For context. And it does sort of start to feel like no matter what we do, there are forces at play that are just going to move forward regardless of what we want or don't want. And that's a brutal opinion. That's a tough spot to find yourself in. That makes it easier to just want to take the black pill. Take the black pill and just say, you know what, forget it. Nothing counts. Nothing matters. So either things matter or they don't. And this is a strange time. Curious to get your thoughts. I've been obviously a little bit out of my regular routine. But what do you make of this? Who's calling the shots? Is President Trump calling the shots? Or after watching Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Elon, I mean, you had Kash and Dan, it felt like they were lying to us about the Epstein list. You had Elon come out and say, yeah, Trump's not releasing the list because he's on it. And then all of a sudden, we're going to war for Israel. Yes. I already played the video on the show. It's all happening. The theater of war has been expanded. And we're going to need qualified, capable people to execute these battle plans. Sharing this post. Yeah, Democrats are suddenly worried that Iranian sleeper cells will now attack the USA from within. Did you hear that? These are the same Democrats who let them all in. The same Democrats who want you to be unarmed. So, in the next couple of days, the thing you want to remember here is that the Democrats will literally take any position if it's opposite what President Trump is doing or saying. Because that's just the position they've boxed themselves into. But it is important to compare Hillary, Obama, Democrats, Republicans, and get some perspective on it. This isn't just a Trump thing that's going on here. How did Iran get to the point that they're at now? Well, let's take a look at this. Officially so tired. Says, remember how we got here. Number one, Hillary Clinton sent uranium to Iran. Obama handed Iran $1.7 billion. Remember, I was telling you a moment ago about how there were pallets of cash that were flown in the middle of the night during the Obama administration to fund Iran. There were sanctions on Iran for the nuclear program. And Obama was like, you know, I'd like to send you $1.7 billion. And by the way, we can fact check that exact number. I'm just reading off a meme that could be inaccurate. But by the way, Joe Biden unfroze $16+ billion for Iran. Oh, and then guess what? Their proxies start getting spicy all across the region. Yeah. But now they want to blame Trump for all of this. You got Hillary, Obama, and Biden all doing these things to help Iran. Now they want to blame Trump. So was this a disaster made by the Democrats, or are the Republicans equally liable here? That's a question for the comments. I'll leave it up to you to answer. You tell me. All right. Next story.
Bomb, 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 Iran.
Yes. So I can't play it, but this is bomb, 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 Iran. This is what John McCain was singing. But the B-2s were deployed, and it was a very complex mission. I guess, as some people say, every mission is very complex. But there were decoys sent out different places to do different things. The reports are that the grid, the Iranian defense systems, didn't even pick up the B-2s. They're supposed to be super stealth, as you know. And the mission was deemed successful. 2 bunker-busting bombs per target. One to go down and open it up, and the second one to go even further and go deeper and take it out. We don't know. We don't know what was hit, what was missed, and what was moved prior. Oh, there was no weapons of mass destruction there. Yeah, they could have been moved. If I fell out of compliance with the International Atomic Energy Regulating Agency, I would move some of that stuff. I would have parallel tunnels. I would get the heck out of there. I'd have trucks and have everything disassemblable. You ever see those videos where you can assemble a Jeep, like from a kit? Out in the field, you disassemble and then reassemble a Jeep. You take the wheels off the axles, you dismantle the frame, you take the doors out. Like, the whole thing is like transformable. Why wouldn't Iran do the same exact thing with their program? So did the United States hit what they wanted to hit? I don't know. I don't know that anybody actually knows that answer right now. And we don't even know exactly how close they actually were. And if they were saying that they were getting close, was some of that posturing so that they'd have something to trade in a negotiation deal? We don't know. There's a legitimate stack of questions that we don't have answers to, or maybe we have partial answers to, or maybe there's answers and I'm unaware. But now's the time we get to figure that out. Anyway, that's the Bomb Iran song. Anyway. Here's this guy. Oh, you know this meme. This dude's a legend. I share his memes all the time. I'm done being a tariff expert, says this old man. I am now an expert in Middle Eastern conflict. This is your MSNBC viewer. I will parrot the things that the people around me tell me to say. I will integrate their talking points. They're NPCs, non-playable characters. The people that watch CNN and MSNBC and just go from being a tariff expert, because I'm going to repeat what the person who hates Trump said, and now I'm going to be an expert in Middle Eastern conflict and repeat the thing that the guy who hates Trump said. Or girl. All right, here was a story over the weekend that was vile. I guess it worked out the best way possible. Kristen Sokolov reports, police identify an armed gunman behind the planned church attack in Michigan. This guy, B.A.B., I don't like saying people's names, 31 years old, was fatally shot by church security after opening fire outside of a Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan. Dressed in tactical gear and armed with an AR-15 style rifle, Browning was stopped before entering the church where his mother is a member. Authorities believe he was in a mental crisis. Hundreds of rounds were recovered at the scene and from his home. But he was fatally shot by church security, so that's exactly why you have church security. Bravo to the good men and women who protected. Hey, I was speaking of NPCs a moment ago. Here's another meme. Here's your NPC saying, "Don't deport my drug dealers, my child molesters, and my cheap labor." And they open up, what is this? Someone else takes the red hand of manipulation, reaches in there, swings open the gate to your skull, takes out the Mexican flag. Or wait, is this one putting in the Iranian flag to their computer processor? Click. Don't bomb the nuclear jihadists and exporters of terrorism. Looks like they got an upgrade here. They will take the side of anything that's opposing President Trump. For right or for wrong. And Thomas Massey's out there calling it unconstitutional, but the War Powers Act has been so greatly expanded. It's like every president does stuff this way now. Formal declarations of war would obviously be different. Isabella Maria De Luca here says, well, Democrats weren't briefed on the Iranian strike, and suddenly no leaks, no press tips, and no chaos. Just a clean, successful mission. Imagine that. Yeah, the Democrats are something else. Benny Johnson here reports on the Michigan situation. We just witnessed a miracle. A Christian church in Michigan was attacked by a gunman today. Dozens of children were inside. The madman could have murdered hundreds, yet no one was hurt. Why? First, a heroic deacon saw the threat and rammed the shooter with his F-150 truck. Then the security guard took out the gunman with his own firearm. What could have been a mass tragedy turned into a powerful testament to God's protection and the preparedness of his people. As one worshiper put it, we saw evil walk in today, but God was already here. Praise God, our Lord Jesus Christ, for saving these Christian children. Anytime you can stop a madman from attacking a church, that's a good day. Liz Wheeler going hard in the paint here, calling out grooming. So Liz Wheeler says, wait, we were censored for calling the left groomers. If you use that term, your video was hidden, shadow banned. Nobody was allowed to see it. You couldn't monetize it because you're not allowed to talk about that. Well, why? I wonder. Maybe you're, getting a little testy. I wonder why. Could there be truth to it? Liz Wheeler says, we were censored for calling the left groomers. But now, JoJo Siwa, famous Gen Z lesbian, quits being lesbian, is madly in love with a man, and says she was pressured as a child into identifying as a lesbian by the LGBT mafia. Liz Wheeler calls them groomers. She says they silence us when we're right. So what do you make about that? Does the left silence you when you're right? Agree or disagree? Oh, I mean, we've been so heavily censored. It's really hard to even put it into perspective. But that's very interesting. Very interesting. This JoJo Siwa, she says that she was pressured as a child into identifying as lesbian by the LGBT mafia. All right, so that's interesting. I'm curious to hear more from that person. I know they've been around for a while, but I have not been paying all that much attention. And for $100, I couldn't tell you a song that they sing. I know they've been around, but I don't know. Anyway, Representative Anna Paulina Luna says now would be a good time to leave the United Nations. China is lecturing the United States on the UN Charter. That's rich. They commit human rights abuses and send spy balloons over the U.S. Yeah. Another agree to disagree question. How about that? Would now be a great time to leave the United Nations? What say you? Agree or disagree? Graham Allen putting this video out. Take a look.
Doors opening.
Saying, have fun in jail. MS-13 linked Ever Manuel Bonilla Moran. Their name is Ever Manuel? Ever? That's a name or a typo? Anyway, once again, beware of the people with 4 names. Finding a lot of criminal activity with 4 named people. 4 names, 1 hyphen, 1 criminal. Arrested in Orlando by Immigrations and Customs Enforcement and local authorities after barricading himself in a home. He's in America illegally after previously being deported.
1 person. Okay, lo que yo quiero que salgas, sigue caminando hacia mí, sigue caminando hacia mí, sigue caminando hacia mí, sigue.
Where's the vehicle? Don't worry about your shield right now. We'll get it later.
Is this what you voted for? Getting previously deported illegal aliens out of the country? Or do you want to open the border for 30 million people to flood in? Parts unknown. How many Iranian sleeper cells? I don't know.
Opening.
Previously deported. Why are they back? And you know what? If you've been told to leave once and it happens a second time, yeah, those penalties need to be much more severe. You were warned. You were warned. David saying YouTube took his last comment down. I'm wondering if there's a way you can rephrase it or say it without saying it, or not be so bombastic, but get the same point across without using, because it's a lot of it is AI. There's certain words and phrases you can't use. And so it's a constant dance to try to communicate on social media. Yeah, it's not an exact science, but you just have to assume that they're just vacuuming things up. The AI algorithms are just figuring it out. All right, Disclosed TV says 1,500 injuries have been reported from violence at a music festival in Paris. Over 100 women have been stabbed with syringes and poisoned. What? No messing with music concerts. I can't stand it. How many people stabbed with syringes? Filled with what? This is Paris? Who wants to go take a tour of Paris right now? I don't think these people are speaking French, are they? Anyway, something interesting I scrolled across. Yeah, this AI is getting wild. This is a point of view video of Moses parting the Red Sea.
What's the energy like in the crowd right now?
Are you kidding me? The God of Abraham is undefeated. This is the greatest comeback in biblical history. Moses is my GOAT.
Sir, what's the official
Moses is my goat.
military response to this? Our chariot warranty does not cover act of God water features. We are
Our chariot warranty does not cover act of God warranty features. Or whatever he said, something like that.
so fired. How do you feel about what's happening? Bro, he said lift the staff and the sea said bet. God got main character energy today.
This is so weird. I mean, it's always been this way. If you spend time talking to the current youthful generation, they really do speak a different language. But when you see biblical characters saying, bet, got main character energy.
Hey, you're Egyptian. What made you switch sides? Honestly, their God has a much better benefits package. The not having your firstborn die policy was a real game changer for me. How are you feeling right now?
They're not having your firstborn child die is a much better policy for me. Oh my gosh.
Baby, if Sarah can get pregnant at 90, my old feet can walk through this sea. Don't play with my God. He's been doing the impossible.
What's the energy like in
Don't play with my God. He's been doing the impossible. All right. Well, just another reminder as I see these AI things, it's getting tougher and tougher to tell them apart. You know, actual video. I mean, I get the historical concept of thousands of years ago that wouldn't look this way, but it's starting to merge our brain together. I think the singularity is quickly approaching people. David says he doesn't understand. I don't understand. Everyone is talking about bombing Iran. You don't understand why everyone's talking about it? I mean, I know you know that it's a big deal, I think, unless you're telling me something different, in which case I'm listening. Yeah, see Paris at your own risk. The Lord is my boo. Hearts. How do you do the heart? You got to throw up a heart with your hand. I know. It's crazy. All right, next. Miss Muckraker usually drops some interesting stuff. Let's take a look. Says, please be careful who you get your news from. Conservative influencers included. There's a bankroll that we know nothing about. Well, fair. That's why we are only bankrolled by viewers like you. We'll put it up on the screen here. Please link up with us in the following locations. The New American Media is on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, YouTube, and others at the New American Media. Telegram and Signal, TNAM and TNAM Chat on X at American_Media_, and subscribe to the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and Apple for the podcast. And that'll include the TNAM Daily Show under that umbrella. If anybody wants to throw something into our tip jar, we're on Patreon at the New American Media, Venmo and Cash App at BrianEngelman, and on PayPal at Fuzz Installment. All those things scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Thank you to everybody who has contributed and will contribute in the future. You're super appreciated. It's one of the things that kind of, you know, refuels the tank, keeps you going, keeps you coming back for more. So thank you, everybody. But yeah, conservative influencers. I don't know if I'm a conservative influencer or a libertarian influencer or a common sense influencer or an anti demon rat influencer or anti-globalist, anti-New World Order influencer. I don't know what I would be called. But I'm also not taking any shady money from anybody who's giving me a script or telling me that I can't hold a certain opinion on a certain topic. So that much I can promise you. There are no marching orders that I am adhering to. Whether I'm delivering valuable info or entertaining info, that's up for you to decide. All right, let's go through these stories here. Wall Street Apes reporting that California resident is showing what Huntington Park on Pacific Boulevard looks like after an ice raid. So peaceful, no traffic, not flooded with people and illegal street vendors all up and down the streets. This is what California used to be before Democrats mass imported illegals. Man, I've had conversations with people that were in California in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And they're like, man, it used to be so nice. And it's such a mess now. Of course, here, U.S. Embassy in Qatar suddenly urges American citizens to shelter in place until further notice. Matt Van Swal here says, so let me get this straight. 2 months ago, we had Ukrainian flags everywhere. A month ago, we had Palestinian flags everywhere. A week ago, we had Mexican flags everywhere. And now we have Iranian flags everywhere. What the hell is going on? It's a group of people who hate America. They want to destroy this country. They'll change their outfit. They'll change their flag. The point remains. Elon was heard to say, I ran into my ex and it was awkward. Yeah, which one? Which X? X marks a lot of spots. Uh-oh. Machiavelli says the pendulum has swung so far right now that everyone from all sides are noticing. Noticing, that's code, right? And there's a picture of Benny Boy saying, yeah, if you could stop noticing, that'd be great. Yeah, if you could stop noticing, that would be great. I'll tell you what. Israel has gone all in. And they have really changed the game as far as perpetual victim card. They have changed the game with redrawing. Look up Greater Israel. Is this all part of a grand plan to seize a whole bunch of land? I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. If Ben had to pick a side, would it be more, if he had to choose to either be pro-America first or Israel first, what do you think Ben Shapiro would pick? Actually, I'm going to drop that in the comment. If Ben Shapiro were given a choice to be either America first or Israel first, what would he pick? Just going to drop that there as a comment. Let's see if we get some replies. All right. Dom Luker, breaker of narrative, says, breaking, this Florida imam is going viral after claiming that they are trying to turn Florida into an Islamic state as they convert churches into mosques. This is the plan of the global caliphate. This is what they're trying to do. Yes, Christianity tries to win souls to the Lord through conversation, acts of service, camaraderie. It's not a military domination. Well, what about the Crusades? The Crusades were to kick out the Islamists who were trying to take over all of those territories. Are we clear? Because I know a lot of my teachers told me something different because they're pushing their commie crap. They're New World Order cult members. But I digress. David here saying if Ben Shapiro had to pick America first or Israel first, he would probably be Israel first. You're not the only person who would say that. Anyway, the Florida imam here says we've already converted 3 churches into mosques, and we are looking for more. One day, Florida will become Muslim. May Allah give victory to Islam in this country. This is the caliphate, the global caliphate. Let me see what Grok says for terminology of caliphate. See if I can get a dictionary. The caliphate is a form of Islamic government led by a caliph, a religious and political leader considered a successor to the prophet. The caliph holds authority over the Muslim community, ideally uniting it under Islamic law, which is Sharia. Caliphates emerged historically after that guy's death in 632. What's CE? Why not just AD in BC? The concept is rooting in unifying Muslims under a single leader, but interpretations differ. Some see it as a spiritual office, others as a political system. Modern movements like ISIS's self-proclaimed caliphate from 2014 to 2019 exploited the term for propaganda, claiming to restore a pure Islamic state through their actions, though their actions were widely condemned by Muslims as un-Islamic and brutal. The caliphate remains a potent symbol in Islamic history, evoking nostalgia for some and controversy for others. So that's sort of what I'm saying. Global domination. Let's just get to that. That's what I'm looking to say. Miss Muckraker continues. The recent suicide bombing in the Mar Elias Greek Orthodox Church in Damascus, Syria on June 22nd, 25, was an act of terrorism. Official reports indicate that a suicide bomber identified by Syria's Interior Ministry is affiliated with the Islamic State opened fire and detonated an explosive vest during a church service, killing at least 25 people and injuring 63. That's so gross, according to Syria's health ministry. While some posts on X claim over 30 victims and 70 have been injured. Let me do it like that. And 70 injured, including children. This attack, the first of its kind in Damascus since the fall of Bashar al-Assad in December 24, has drawn widespread condemnation from the international community, including the United States, the European Union, Greece, Turkey, and the Ecumenical Patriarchate. I know patriarchy, but this is patriarchate. The Syrian government has vowed to investigate and combat terrorism, with interim President Ahmed al-Shara's administration facing pressure to protect religious minorities. Yeah, they were definitely trying to get rid of Assad. And was Assad doing all bad things, some bad things? Well, there's some chaos. Yeah, given the choice, are you pro-Israel or pro-Iran? A lot of people are saying, just say Christ is Lord. How about that? Miss Muckraker here continue. All right, I was just talking about this. The Crusades from 1095 to 1291 were religious wars to reclaim the Holy Land, driven by faith and cultural defense. If you aren't educated on the reasoning for them, who fought in them, and who won, I would start researching, because it's time to pick a side. Do you understand your purpose? Do you understand what the real war is? And here they're showing a crusader with the cross. Okay, so what is this here? More information on this shooter at a church. So anytime there's an attack in a church, especially on Christianity, I guess that would, you have mosques and temples and churches. I guess most churches are Christian, or most Christian services are in churches at least. Anyway, so 31-year-old man, that guy from Romulus, Michigan, rammed his Ford F-150 truck into Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan, near Dearborn. Dearborn is an Islamic hotbed. That is where you have essentially no-go zones, and they're trying to form little communities of Sharia law. That's incompatible with our Constitution. You can't be anti-woman the way that exists and be compatible with United States laws. Anyway, so this is near Dearborn, Michigan, so you can understand why people might instantly jump to the possibility of terrorism. This guy opened fire with an AR rifle and a semi-automatic handgun. A church deacon hit Browning with a vehicle, allowing a security guard who was shot twice in the leg to fatally shoot the attacker. That's wild. So how was this guy in a car, and how did he get to the car? Like, I almost want to see a graphic of how he was taken out, because this needs to be training for all the deacons and the people, the tilers, the defenders of these buildings. It's time for everybody to be on high alert wherever you are. And trust me, when I was out in the middle of the Indiana night, walking around amidst all sorts of groups of all sorts of people doing all sorts of things, anytime there's a gathering of people, it's a potential target. So you have to kind of have a plan in place. So I'd be very curious to see like an animation of what was done with this deacon to protect this church. Bravo to him. The incident happened at 11:15 a.m. during a Sunday service with 150 attendees. The security guard's actions, along with the deacon's intervention, are credited with preventing a potential mass shooting. Bravo. This guy attended the church a few times, and his mother was a member, but police suggest he may have been experiencing a mental health crisis. With no clear motive established, the FBI is assisting in the ongoing operation. Okay. Corey DeAngelis puts this out about schooling. Stop calling them public schools. They aren't open to the public, and they aren't accountable to the public. They're run by the government. They're regulated by the government. They're assigned by government. They're compelled by government. They are government schools. They're not public schools. I'm sorry. What is this story? A foreign man privatizes Disneyland Paris for his marriage to a 9-year-old girl. The British man was arrested this Saturday. He had privatized the amusement park for a wedding, except that the bride-to-be turned out to be a 9-year-old girl of Ukrainian nationality. Oh, you know what I'm advocating. So I'm messing with a 9-year-old? Oh, yeah, there's a way to sort this out. A British man. Is he a British man, or is he an illegal alien temporarily hiding in Britain? The event would be a staging. The guests, about 100 according to Le Parisien, were extras according to the prosecutor's office. That's shocking. All right, here's more information about the French attack. Significant violence, 1,500 injuries nationwide. 145 people, predominantly women, reported being pricked with syringes, with 13 cases in Paris alone. These attacks followed disturbing social media posts, notably on Snapchat, calling for women to be targeted during the festivities. 12 subjects arrested in connection with the syringe attacks, believed to have targeted around 50 victims, though the substances used remain unconfirmed, with some victims undergoing toxicological tests for possible needle spiking with drugs with rofinol or GBH. So that's roofies or GBH. Beyond the syringe incidents, over 370 people were detained nationwide for various charges, including nearly 90 in Paris. 14 festival goers were seriously injured, including a 17-year-old hospitalized with stab wounds to the abdomen, and 13 law enforcement officers were also injured. Specific claims of poisoning lack substantiation in available reports, and the figure of over 100 women stabbed with syringes aligns with the 145 total syringe victims, though not all were necessarily women. 51 vehicles were also torched, and there were 6 stabbings. So yeah, any gathering of people, you better beware for God knows what. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the president's disastrous decisions. The Democrats are going to call anything President Trump does Disastrous. Horrible. So your filter needs to be set to identify that as it's coming. Every single day, the Democrat job is to get Trump. Their job isn't to work together and get some stuff done. Their job is to get Trump, and it has been for 10 years. And they messed around and found out. People are done. People are so done with the Democrats. They've been the boy that cries wolf way too often. AOC says the president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene comes jumping down from the top rope. Shut up, you pathetic little hypocrite. You fully supported our military and IC running the proxy war against Russia in Ukraine. And you voted to fund the Ukraine war under your president with dementia. You don't get to play anti-war and moral outrage anymore. Well, that's just whataboutism. Yeah, well, what about it? Answer it. Anyway, yeah, follow Miss Muckraker. There's usually a nice post of, 5 to 10 different stories. Pretty interesting. Eric Daughtry here saying major breaking. U.S. Marshals and Florida officials announced the largest single child rescue operation in American history. Bravo. Kenneth, if she's 9, then you face a fine. All right, hold on. Johnny Cochran is not the one who's going to be prosecuting this. If her age is 9, you face a fine. Yes, David, crazy people indeed. All right, so look, we've been hypercritical of Bongino, Patel, and Bondi, but this is good. U.S. Marshals, Florida officials announced the largest single child rescue operation in American history. Over 2 weeks, 60 kids have been saved and are now in custody. What is President Trump saying right now? Let's hit you with the latest one. The site. Brian, your show's all over the place. You talk about one story, then another, then you're on to 3 more, then you're back to the first story. Yep. We all have the attention span of a gnat anyway, so I think it works. President Trump says 2 things. I think I shared one. I'll be getting to it, but I'll just read it now. First one. Did I hear former President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word? Nuclear. And saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that? Or is this just a figment of my imagination? If he did say that, and if confirmed, please let me know immediately. The N-word should not be treated so casually. I guess that's why Putin's the boss. By the way, if anyone thinks our hardware was great over the weekend, far and away the strongest and best equipment that we have, 20 years advanced over the pack, is our nuclear submarines. They're the most powerful and lethal weapons ever built and just launched the 30 Tomahawks. All 30 hit their mark perfectly. So, in addition to our great fighter pilots, thank you to the captain and crew. Second post here. This just coming in. President Trump says the sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed, and everyone knows it. Only the fake news would say anything different in order to try and demean as much as possible. And even they say they were pretty well destroyed. Working especially hard on this falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News CNN, dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of Comcast, Johnny Carl of ABC Fake News, and always the losers of, again, Comcast's NBC Fake News. It never ends with the sleazebags in the media, and that's why their ratings are at an all-time low. Hashtag zero credibility. Back to this story here, giving Bongino, Bondi, Patel maybe some props. Not sure how involved they were with the U.S. Marshals and the Florida officials, but, Bondi's from there. Was Bongino living down there too? Where was Cash living? Were they all Florida? Anyway, this child rescue operation involved 20 agencies and 100 plus people, 8 people arrested, charged with human trafficking, child endangerment, drug possession, and trafficking. U.S. Marshal says Operation Dragonfly, the largest in the history of the U.S. Marshal Service, if not the largest in the United States. And they saved children ranging from 9 years to 17 years old. Bravo. The Babylon Bee parody site shows a picture of Barack Obama saying, Obama distraught as Trump bombs cool nuke factory that he paid for. Yes, it is a cool nuke factory that Obama paid for. Pallets of cash sent to Iran. Pallets of cash. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, again. Why is this page not available? What's happening? Where's that story? That story just disappeared. It was Anna Paulina Luna talking about sleeper cells. Here's the post that I shared from President Trump. Here you go. Here are Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, openly saying that they're here to destroy America. Allegedly. Take a listen.
And in the form that it must come is that this empire, the American empire that's been hurting our people since the beginning, the imperial Western powers that have been hurting our people since the beginning, they must fall. And inshallah they will fall. And my message to the people of Gaza and the oppressed peoples across the world is that there are people here, both young and old, who are going to be willing to fight and are willing to put their lives and everything they can on the line to bring these empires down, because they must come down.
So, yeah. Why would you import people that want to destroy your country? Yeah, here's the difference. Here's Obama negotiating with Iran, and this is an image of bands of cash. You know how much $1 billion is? You know how much $100 million, like, to look at it stacked up, stacks of 100? You know how big of a pile, how many pallets that actually is? So that's the difference. Obama negotiating with Iran gives them money. Trump negotiating with Iran gives them bombs. Which one do you prefer? So here's the video, by the way, of the Christian church in Wayne, Michigan. The man drives a truck into the building and opens fire. Let's start yelling right now, and it's just confusion. They get down, people are kind of jogging. People are standing in place.
Everybody to the back. Please, everybody come to the back.
No, they're finally coming.
They gotta come. They gotta come. Come on.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Wars and rumors of war.
Go. Out, I don't think is a good idea. Come on here.
So, yeah. This would be a good time to have armed security and be trained and have a plan in place and make sure everybody knows what to do. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So I'm not entirely certain what type of sleeper cells or global operations may be in place, but this would be a mighty fine time to stay frosty, my friends. Stay frosty. Kenneth, Palestine? Yeah, Obama lent support to Palestine. No, that's Palestine, and we're talking about Iran. What is this? I saw Iran. There you go. Operation Unzipped Fly. Whoa, that's embarrassing. Kenneth, my blood is... I feel my tired blood has sleeper cells. It's been a long 2 weeks. Talk about sleeper cell. I'm going to get a good night's sleep one of these days. Recharge that battery up for sure. I feel like I have some sleeper cells too. But it's all good. All right, next story. But yeah, stay alert, stay trained, and dangerous in defense of the things that you love. Being defenseless is not a virtue. having the potential for brutality and extreme violence that you choose to keep restrained, that's power. And that's your responsibility. I believe that if there's a God, my God would want me to be powerful and deadly in defense against evil, should I ever have to encounter that. I think it's godly to be strong, to be dangerous, to be ready. Being defenseless is not a virtue. Quite the opposite. It's dereliction of duty. I think you have a responsibility to be strong enough to care for your little circle, because we're all busy. You have to take care of your circle. We all have to take care of our own circles. We can't take care of everybody else's circles. So don't be lazy. Don't be derelict in your duty. Be an asset to your local community. Because the best kind of government is the local government. It starts with you. You regulate you yourself in your own life. Like Jordan Peterson says, clean your room. Clean your bloody room. You want to come out and tell everybody else how to live? Clean your own damned room. I haven't done a Jordan Peterson. I'll have to work on it. But yeah, you start with yourself, and then you start with your home and your family. Then you start with your street and your neighbors and your community. Then maybe your city, your state, your country, the globe. You know, just being a Greta Thunberg. I'm so glad she has all the solutions to all of life's problems. Every time she opens her mouth. Now I'm good with that. All right, here is Errol Weber, U.S., who is sharing a legal African immigrant confronting ICE protesters about immigration. Let's take a listen.
Legally, if America gets destroyed, I have a country to go. But what about you? Where are you going to go?
Unfortunately, nowhere, which is why
okay. What you're doing is just sheer waste of time. It calls for your contribution, my contribution to make this country great. But if you want to destroy it, I'm not going to allow that, because I have my kids that came here.
How are they doing it? How are they?
Okay, one, they don't understand that today being a Saturday, there are people working. They should go and work, contribute to the economy of this country to make sure that this country become better.
Yes.
But they are here wasting time, bullshit, and they get everything for free, Medicaid, Medicare, EBT, and all that bullshit. Come to Africa, cash and carry. If you don't have money, you're not going to eat. You understand? You guys are here, and you are just making noise for no reason. I mean, well, what kind of people is this? And you think all black people are stupid? It's not all of us who are stupid. I mean, America give people the opportunity to fool too much. The stupidity is too much.
He's more than welcome to talk. I just don't want to trigger the
I get it. We'll come over here.
I'm sharing an idea. Not all black people who are stupid. There are some black people who use our head. You understand what I mean? I don't have to love Trump to love America. America is the greatest.
I don't have to love Trump to love America. Of course, that's bravo. Yeah, well said. It's, 100%. I agree.
The greatest country on earth. I agree. So if you have people who always want to make noise and just misbehave as if there's a better place other than this country for them, they should wait till they destroy it. I have a country to go. Yeah. But what about them? Because there's no way Africa will accept every single one of them. No way. Because they'll destroy it. I've never seen such hate in a country like America, the way they hate only one man. Americans have been spoiled, and they think that the more they make noise, the more they get things done. To get things done calls for what? Pragmatic assessment on how you're going to get things done. Not this wasting of time and just protesting somebody who loves his country. In my life, I've never seen such hate in a country like America, the way they hate only one man. How is that possible? How can you hate one man just because he loves his country? Well, what is this? Illegally, if America gets destroyed.
Preach. Button. When you post your online opinion and you don't care who you piss off.
Is it worth it?
Is it?
Oh, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah?
If you're strong enough.
If you're strong.
Is it worth it?
Posting your online opinion, not caring who you piss off. Oh, it's worth it if you're strong enough. All right, Ian Smith is bringing something to our attention that we might want to pay attention to. I think I said that. I used the word attention too many times. Ian Smith says conservatives are rushing a massive public land sell-off through the Senate's budget reconciliation package. So what do we know about this? Should we have concerns? I think we should. Well, let's go back. Are we sharing it in the right profile? Yes. The right angles? Yes, we are. Okay. Keep it paused. Perfect. Mike Lee is leading the charge. You know, pause on Mike Lee. Let me get to this because I had, well, here, I'll share this on. Actually, I can't. I can share it this way. You know what? I have to switch my account here on X back to this one because I want to share this take from Ben Swan. My new messages. Where are my new ones? Let's share this. Put this in the stack. Okay, I can get to this in due time then. Perfect. I think I'm set now. Okay, so 250 million acres of public lands. These are not just unused scrap lands. This is a ton. Where's my homepage? There we go. Switching back to Rumble. Okay, almost perfect. Trying again. There we go. 250 million acres of great public lands are now eligible for disposal to any bored billionaire, developer, or foreign investor, says Ian Smith. I didn't really have this story on my radar, but now it is. National forests, wilderness study lands, key wildlife corridors, and even inventoried roadless areas. Home to some of the most beautiful and pristine land in this country and a habitat to count the species used for hiking, fishing, camping, and healthy outdoor activities. At least 2 million acres forced up for sale in 11 western states within 5 years. Secretary-level discretion with zero hearings, zero transparency, and zero public review. Now, people like Mike Lee and Glenn Beck have long talked about the frustrations of so much of their state land being owned by the federal government. Why does the federal government have so much of this land? I understand the countervailing view in opposition to that. I mean, if you were a state and you could expand your population, but the federal government is just holding on to a lot of your property, wouldn't you want something to be done? Wouldn't you want constituents? Wouldn't you want to be able to work with that property that's yours? Well, the federal government says it's theirs. So I'm willing to unpack this idea. I'd like to have a robust conversation to hear about all the great ideas on one side and on the other. But it's happening. And they're like, oh, the U.S. is so in debt, $37 trillion. It's like, well, why can't we sell some land? And then put something in place that Congress can't have benefits unless you balance the budget. Guess what? They're going to balance the budget. Or they're going to lose all their benefits. It's not rocket science. All right. He continues here, Ian Smith. This is why he says this is abhorrent. This will devastate ecosystems, fragments habitat for elk, pronghorn, grizzly, migratory birds, and more. Places like Bridger Teton, Caribou Targhee, the Sawtooth, Sierra Forest, all swept into the auction block. Funds tax cuts for the wealthy. Well, a thinly veiled zero accountability land raid to bankroll tax breaks for the ultra rich. I'm not entirely certain that's... It undermines state power. Local governments and tribes are locked out. No first refusal, no protections. Wealth wins and public rights lose. Well, if that's true, that's probably not good. Real world consequences. Wildlife once protected by national parks could become isolated remnants, stripped of habitat and access. Pressure on frontline communities, those in Teton County, whose water and wildlife economy would be wrecked, even under a statement requesting exclusion. These prostitutes claim that it's to fund housing, but most land isn't safe or accessible for housing due to fire risk and zoning. Zoning loopholes let them reroute anything into affordable housing or infrastructure. No promises, just open-ended giveaways. Is that true? So who's complicit? Senator Mike Lee is pushing this measure through Senate Energy and Natural Resources, backed by Senate Republicans tied to budget reconciliation. The bill now includes lands in Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. So then they say, and here's how to stop the land fire sale. Review the maps, call your senators, mobilize public pressure. This is treason by legislation. Says they're robbing us blind, pretending it's for affordable housing. Here, let's do in the comments. I'd like to hear a robust debate about the pros and cons of this plan. Button. Okay. But it sounded interesting. I'm very curious. All right, here's Hillary Clinton. If we did just a little bit of contrast. What was the Democrats' plan for Iran? You know, until President Trump got elected a second or third time, depending on how you view what happened. What was Hillary's plan? What was the Democrats' plan? Because they're against this now, but it's just because they're against anything President Trump does. I've said this 1,000 times. If President Trump came out to the White House press briefing room and said, or if he put out a tweet or a Truth Social post, a truth. It's going to be great weather today. Looking forward to the press conference. If he said something like that, I guarantee you the press corps for the lying legacy media, they'd come out in rain jackets, boots, galoshes, umbrellas. They simply cannot ever agree with President Trump on anything. It's really sad. I think Trump derangement syndrome should be added to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Diseases, mental health disorders, because the people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, they have it in a bad way, a very, very bad way. Anyway, here's Hillary Clinton in 2008 talking about Iran, just for some context.
I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development.
Did you get that? If I'm president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development
they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic. I want the Iran.
So, you know, Hillary and Obama sound a lot like Trump, except Trump actually does things that these others talk about. Remember, they wanted to move the American embassy into Jerusalem, and everybody talked about it. All the previous presidents talked about it. Trump was the one that actually did it. Oh, we got to fix our southern border. We got to fix our southern border. Well, Trump's doing it. And part of the big, beautiful bill is to get the funding to build the infrastructure necessary. They're like, oh, we don't have $5 billion to defend our country. But yeah, we can send hundreds of billions to Ukraine. Ask the average American to point to Ukraine on the map. Take the names of the countries off, and let's just see how long it takes them to point to Ukraine. Do they have any idea what they're talking about? No. Okay. But they've been funding something in Ukraine like it matters more than American national security at our southern and northern, eastern, western border. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Deb here in the comments, thanks to the internet, we have receipts about all the stuff Hillary and Obama spoke about. It's easy to pretend that you didn't say what you said when nobody's holding you accountable. Not so easy when you have the receipts. You know, here's this famous picture of Ben Affleck. I don't know what this is in reference to, where he's completely over it and checked out. He's taking a deep breath, taking a drag off a cigarette. Just, ugh. If the phrase had an image, it would be Ben Affleck, left hand in his pocket with a cigarette in his right hand. Anyway, Tim Runs His Mouth shared this, and the caption says, "This is what it looks like when liberals just replaced their Palestinian flag with a Mexican flag and a pride flag, and now they have to find an Iranian flag. They are literally against everything." Whatever President Trump is doing, they have to be in favor of the opposite. It is a mental derangement syndrome. It's Trump derangement syndrome. Palestinian flag, Mexican flag, Iranian flag. What a combo there. All right, so here's the video. Confirmed that Iran has launched multiple missiles toward U.S. base in Qatar or Qatar. Watching the Star Wars happen. Informed with Anthony says, multiple other U.S. bases come under attack as well. United Arab Emirates closed its airspace. Fox News reports Trump is in National Security Committee with NSC members in the Situation Room, monitoring the ongoing attack by Iran. Move President Trump said will be met with a fierce U.S. response. The missiles are flying. What does it mean? Time is going to tell us. Here's a former Obama official who led counterterrorism communications, says on MSNBC that Iran chanting death to America, well, you know, it either means death to America or something else.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs says, I mean, your point that you made before, Katie, it speaks to this, which is that he's not explaining what the issues are for America. What are the issues for America? Why is it a foundational issue for Trump that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon? Why is this something that the U.S. should be involved in? Why are we allied with Israel?
He says because they chant death to America.
They chant death to America. I went to Iran in 2014. I was sitting at a rally. These young guys were chanting death to America. I had a minder. I said, what are they saying? They're saying death to America. They finished the chant, and two young men came over and said, are you American? I said, yes. Says, we want to welcome you to our country. We love American culture and love American movies. They wanted to talk about all these things. Iran is the most Western nation in the whole Middle East. We have much more in common with them than a lot of countries that we do have.
He's just ignoring the death to America part. He says these kids turned on a dime and they actually love America while they're chanting death to America. Okay. I don't know. If I was chanting death to Canada for 40 years, maybe someone would kick my ass eventually too. You know, if I had a bloodlust to destroy our neighbors to the north, maybe at some point the chickens would come home to roost for me. If I kept chanting death to Canada, death to Canada, death to Canada. Oh, I love Canadian culture. Oh, your Canadian ham is so good. John Candy was hilarious. SGA is the best MVP in NBA history. He's from Canada too, right? Oh, Canada Dry. It's such a delicious beverage.
Have alliances with.
Well, the huge X factor, too, is what Ben Rhodes, Obama's security guy, described as what we could have is a catastrophe.
Well, the chairman of the Joint.
Yeah, it just. I'll do cognitive dissonance button. Drop that there. Cognitive dissonance. It's a psychological state where a person experiences discomfort from holding conflicting beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors simultaneously. For example, someone might feel uneasy if they value health but smoke regularly, as the belief that health is important clashes with the behavior, smoking. Introduced by Leon Festinger in 1957, the theory suggests people are motivated to reduce this tension by changing their beliefs, justifying their actions, or ignoring the conflict. So there's MSNBC. Don't believe they're lying. Your lying ears. Believe us. They actually love us when they say death to America. Oh, baby, you know I love you. Okay. That's a strange flex. Good luck with that one. Good luck selling that. I'm not buying it, but good luck selling it. Anyway, I digress. All right. This post here from 300 Guns. Oh, yeah, I think I read this one to you while I was sharing it. Democrats are suddenly worried that Iranian terror sleeper cells will now attack the USA from within. That's the same Democrats who let them all in and the same ones who want you to be disarmed. I think I shared a couple more during the show. Let's get these last tidbits. All right, so Ben Swan has this theory that what we're seeing with the destruction of these nuclear bases in Iran would be theater, a negotiated destruction of these facilities in a planned peace. That an agreement has been reached, but for American reasons and Iranian reasons, they have to put on the show like they're against each other, and then they'll reluctantly reach a ceasefire. So Ben Swan here has this interesting thought, and he's going to elaborate on it here. He says, so following up on my theory, and you can see Ben Swan, he's in my introduction for the Agree to Disagree show. He's on our intro. We talked to him at the United We Stand Festival, and he's been on my show as well. He says, so following up on my theory from a day ago, now Iran is fired back in the United States, targeting a U.S. base in Qatar. But they reportedly contacted Qatar ahead of time and coordinated the missile launches to minimize casualties. It worked. There was no damage to the U.S. base, no casualties, 6 missiles knocked down. This is an off-ramp. Iran has to respond, but they did so in a coordinated way with the United States. It makes all of this theater. Time for the show of war with Iran to come to an end. That's a bold suggestion. Bold theory, Cotton. Let's see how this plays out. So either there will be a harsh response from the U.S. that ramps this up, or it's going to be simmered down. I don't, Dudley, says LAPD is now starting to slowly protect innocent civilians over criminals. Good job. Now get a new governor and mayor, and you guys might have an amazing state of you. They're out here on horseback, pushing people back, getting them out of the streets. I mean, not fully understanding the context there, but that's nice to see at least. The whole street takeover thing is no bueno. All right, let's scroll through what we have happening here. Got a bit of a wild, flailing fight here in the streets. Okay, what else we got? I was trying to find U.S. bases. If Iran doesn't back off, it means war. Remember what Trump said during his live, says Goku. It's clear Iran isn't backing off since they've increased the amount of missiles toward Israel. It's only time until they start attacking U.S. bases. It's going to be war. We'll see. But right here, Iran reportedly coordinated with Qatari officials ahead of the strike on the U.S. bases to not drag the United States more directly into the fight, according to Fox News. 6 Iranian missiles fired at the U.S. bases, all 6 intercepted. Yeah, because they have to keep up appearances. As Iran attacks U.S. bases, the price of oil continues to drop. So maybe it's normalizing. Bryce showing 800 military bases all over the world. And it's why we're going broke. Charlie Kirk. Am I sharing you the right screen? Yes, I am. Wrong aspect ratio, though. Charlie Kirk says 0 U.S. casualties, 0 Iranian missiles hitting U.S. bases, 0 need for the U.S. to retaliate as of now, a large international and regional coalition mobilized to shoot down Iranian missiles. This is clearly an extremely positive outcome for America and President Trump. Take the W and off-ramp to de-escalation and pray for peace. Can we do that? Do we want to do that? Let's take a listen to President Trump here.
You remember when I did something to Iran and they shot missiles? Well, those are typically very accurate missiles, but did you notice every single one of them missed, right? I wonder why they missed. I wonder why they missed. They went at a certain base that we had, a lot of people in that base, but they all landed a little outside the base. I wonder why. Someday you're going to think about that. Then you're going to think about, did we know they weren't going to hit the base too? But they didn't hit us. They needed some kind of reply, I guess, but they didn't hit us. You remember when I did...
Okay. Well, yikes. That, to me, tells me that it's highly likely that the Ben Swann theory might have some credence. I think he's connecting dots on this one. I'm going to grab this from my profile and share this into a group where we're having the conversation about Ben making claims without providing any receipts. There we go. Ben and Trump simpatico? All right. Well, I think there might be something to that. I couldn't imagine why President Trump would say what he just said there unless he's just kind of giving you comms, letting you know a little bit of what's going on. Iran gave a 12-hour heads up before launching its missile attack. Symbolic. All right. So that's good. Let's go back to our profile here. Oh, yeah, by the way, who's eating all those tariff costs? Hint, it's not the U.S. consumer. So here's Japan passenger car export prices to North America. Here's their prices, and they drop down. Only in America. Not to other destinations, but in 22. Oh, look at the prices dropped way down. Well, that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, the tariff conversation, it might be a pretty positive one. There's a lot of rancor back and forth. All right, what's going on with YouTube? What are we saying? F YouTube. Enjoy the show, I guess. Oh, okay. I thought David was peacing out on us a little too soon. I'm like, what? He's like, enjoy the show, I guess. No, I mean, enjoy the theater of war. I talked to Jordan Maxwell, and he'd talk about theater. Or he talked about war, and he's like, why do you think they call it the theater of war? It's a war theater. Why do you think they call it a bank? Because they direct where the money flows like a river. Your money is liquid. Your assets are liquid to the banks of the river. Anyway, he has all these wordplay things. Pretty interesting. Sal, what's up, Sal? Sal and I often, Sal's been a long-time member, a long-time listener, first-time caller. He's been a long-time member of the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. We're overdue to start kind of bringing those back, Sal. Maybe some late night. Well, maybe we'll think of like evening. Maybe not too late, but late night sports talk. That could work. That could work for me. Sal says, peace. We want to do it, and they do too. Trump tight. Oh, okay. Yeah, enjoy the show, you guys. Referring to 17. If you know, you know. Do you know? Do you know what 17 means, people? All right. Let's see. Anything else I wanted to tell you? What is this? Norm's restaurant in North Hollywood is normally busy at all hours. Now it's empty. You know it's bad when Norm's is empty. What does that mean? More than a quarter of the people living in California, especially in LA, are not in the country legally. Most of those people are receiving major forms of federal and state aid in order to stay here. Yeah, it's super expensive to live there, but they're getting money from us. We didn't vote for that, but they're taking it and giving it to people that broke into the country. They didn't think Trump was serious. They talked themselves into, this is from Brian Cates. They didn't think Trump was serious about this. They talked themselves into believing he was bluffing. He'd never weather the blowback they would send his way if they tried to deport even a third of the illegals that they let in. That would be 10 million out of the 30. You're going to see amazing things happen when the law in our nation's borders are fully enforced, and over 10 million illegals self-deport when Trump completely cuts them off from all forms of federal aid. While states like California, already vastly over-leveraged due to supporting millions of illegals with state funds, can't stay afloat if they try to keep them here. I said a while back, the Uniparty doesn't really love anybody. For them, whichever wing they belong to, Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservatives, it's always about money and power. When Trump plays that last card to enforce the border and cuts off 20 plus million illegals from ever getting any further federal assistance, yeah, you're busted at this. You should catch a permanent ban. And then when state treasuries start collapsing in real time because the federal money is the only thing keeping this scheme afloat currently, you will see all these sanctuary cities literally throwing thousands of illegals over the side and busing them back to Mexico just as fast as they can. And you can quote me on that. We shall see. This is the press conference. Here, I'll listen to this. This is a good one. This is good news. A couple more stories to get to, and we'll wrap up our first show back in a little while. Good to be here. It's been great being out in the field and out and about in the universe, but it's good to be back in the regular routine as well. Let's celebrate a victory here against the bad guys.
My name is Bill Berger, B-E-R-G-E-R, United States Marshal, Middle District of Florida. and I am overwhelmed by the results of this operation. Operation Dragonfly, the largest in the history of the United States Marshal Service, if not the history of the United States. As the AG mentioned, 60 juveniles recovered in 2 weeks, ranging from age 9 to 17 years of age. Several years ago, Atlanta had a similar operation, which resulted in the recovery of 30 children over 6 weeks. This effort was a collaboration of, as the AG mentioned, 20 agencies with over 100 people involved. I want to thank the AG for providing the statewide special prosecutors. I want to say special thanks to Sheriffs Chronister, Golteri, and Naco, FD Ali, of course, our police chiefs, my friends, Lee Burkall, and
all right, he's just thanking people. Well, okay.
Tony Holloway, Hillsborough County State Attorney Susie Lopez.
Come on,
who
me some more meat.
Many will be speaking in the very near future.
Okay, keep going.
It should be noted that Tampa Mayor Jane Castor and former Mayor Bob Buckhorn also visited the command post and spoke to our team, emphasizing the importance of this operation. We put together this operation emphasizing recoveries, but I can tell you I stressed arrest, because experience tells us if the offenders are not apprehended, they will reconnect with these children.
Yep. The recidivism rate for child abusers is through the roof. That's why I advocate capital punishment. These are non-rehabilitatable people. Rehabilitatable? I don't know if that's an actual word. But yeah, the recidivism rate of slipping back into doing the exact same thing again is through the roof with child abusers. So yeah, I think capital punishment's the only fair when you abuse a kid. It's the only way to be fair to the family and fair to society. If this person's going to just constantly abuse kids, that's why pencils have erasers. Put them in the chair. Give them a firing squad. Give them the lethal injection. Whatever you need to do, just come on. Protect the kids. If you can't get rid of Republican Democrat for constantly fighting over every issue to just come together against child abuse, I don't know what's wrong with you, but it's a you problem, not an us problem.
They are, in my opinion, leeches. Behind me, you will see the pictures of 8 persons who were arrested and charged with crimes ranging from human trafficking, child endangerment, drug possession, and trafficking. When arrested, they were given bonds ranging from no bond to $250 million bond. I've never heard of that before. Finally, it is important to give credit where credit is due. The one person who was tasked with setting up this operation and universally has been recognized by all people involved is Deputy U.S. Marshal Mario Price. Mario will make himself available after this conference.
Bravo. Let's give credit to where credit is due. Here's Ron Paul's message about foreign entanglements. It's a wise message. Is it, do you agree or disagree with it? I get it. That's the difference between being a neocon, being a conservative, being a globalist, and being a libertarian. Here's Ron Paul, the libertarian.
Is if another country does to us what we do others, we're not going to like it very much. So I would say that maybe we ought to consider a golden rule in foreign policy. Don't do to other nations what we don't want to have them do to us. So we endlessly bomb.
Boo! Can you imagine booing that sentiment? What a weird.
Don't do to other nations what we don't want to have them do to us. So we endlessly bomb these countries, and then we wonder why they get upset with us, and yet it continues on and on. I mean, this idea that we can't debate foreign policy, then all we have to do is start another war. I mean, it's warmongering. They're building up for another war against Iran, and people can't wait to get in another war. This country doesn't need another war. We need to quit the ones we're in. We need to save the money and bring our troops home.
There you go. Need to save that money and bring your troops home. We don't need another war. I mean, 20 years ago, Ron Paul's words, still relevant today. Still relevant today. So yeah, I guess, yeah, Democrats okay with Iran having a nuke, but you can't have a gun. It makes sense. I think I've interviewed these people. Right here, there's I remember these signs. I had footage from Chicago that got corrupted, files that I couldn't publish. It's a whole story. I won't bore you with it, but I believed I interviewed these people with these exact same signs saying the state of Israel does not represent this, that, the other. Support to Israel is not supporting Jews or Judaism. I think I interviewed these people. They're Hasidic. They wear the hats and the beards, and they were on the street corner in Chicago. They don't want the Israel to exist. Just there's professional protesters that are at all these things. I mean, it's the same cast of characters. Luckily, or interestingly, I was able to go to Chicago for the Democrat convention, Washington, D.C. for the Libertarian convention, and Milwaukee for the Republican convention. There's a lot of the same people, a lot of the same videographers, a lot of the same rabble rousers. It's like the traveling circus. You know, I got to meet and work alongside and even share housing with a bunch of journalists from various parts and various political ideologies. We didn't agree on a lot of stuff. Some far left ideology out there from some of the videographers, but they're, you know, nice people and had a good time working alongside them, dining with them. You can be civil even if you disagree, I think. Hence the name, the Agree to Disagree Show. But yeah, when I looked at these signs, I'm like, I think these are the exact signs from the people that I interviewed in Chicago. The video that I had got corrupted and I can't compare and contrast, but I believe those are the same exact signs. And at a quick glance, it appears to be perhaps the same people. But yeah, the professional protest culture, it's a thing. It's a whole cottage industry here in America. Yeah, Ukrainian flags, Palestinian flags, Mexican flags, Iranian flags. Yep. Now, oh, look, Trump's doing it. So now we're against it. Okay. I'm not recognizing. Oh, no, the guy on the right, maybe. I might have interviewed the guy on the right here. I didn't recognize the two people in the middle or the guy on the left, but maybe the guy on the right was the one that I interviewed. Okay, that's not as good.
Yes, sir. God bless.
Professional outrage culture. Yeah, we said there is a group hell-bent on destroying America, and that group is the Democrat Party, and they will align with almost every group who hates America. Good luck with that. So yeah, according to NBC News, Iran delivered a communique to President Trump through an intermediary at the G7 summit last week in Canada, threatening to activate sleeper cell terrorist groups inside the United States if its nuclear facilities were attacked. The Trump admin, as well as federal, state, local law enforcement agencies in key cities across the country, are on high alert for any potential retaliation inside the U.S. The Department of Homeland Security issued a statement today, well, I guess this is maybe yesterday, warning that the Iran conflict is causing a heightened threat environment in the United States. Apparently, Israel bombed and destroyed Iran's clock in central Tehran, which counts down the time until the destruction of the state of Israel. Is this the video or just a picture? That's just a picture. The main gate to Evin prison in the Iranian capital of Tehran was reportedly struck earlier during the ongoing wave of airstrikes by the Israeli Air Force. Evin is considered one of the most infamous prisons in Iran, serving as the primary site for incarcerating political prisoners, journalists, academics, human rights advocates, dual nationals, and foreign citizens accused of espionage or propaganda offenses by the Iranian regime. Here's footage allegedly from OSINT Defender beginning to circulate, which appears to show an Israeli strike against the entrance to Evin prison, which is known to house the political prisoners in the Iranian capital of Tehran. Vivid says, do you realize the importance of this? Israel bombed the gates of a prison holding Iranians who reject the Islamic regime in an attempt to free them. Israel is giving the Iranian people a chance to rise up and overthrow this regime once and for all, is their claim. J.D. Vance has some thoughts this morning. He says the operation last night, I'm sorry, this would maybe be, yeah, it was from yesterday. The operation last night is an incredible testament to American pilots and other service members from General Kane and General Kurilla on down. While the media has attacked the president's senior team relentlessly and tried to sow fake division, last night would have been impossible without perfect coordination and discretion from the president's national security team. I'm incredibly proud of them, and I know that the president is too. Gateway Pundit reports it's time to investigate and indict the Obama-Biden administrations for sending billions of dollars to the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism, Iran. And I think that concludes what I wanted to discuss today. Thank you, everybody. Sal, Kenneth, David, everybody else lurking and watching, not commenting. Appreciate you. Boo. I was saying boo earns. Wait, were you saying boo or were you saying boo earns? Yeah, the boo birds are out for sure. All right, well, it's all happening, people. And we'll be back tomorrow discussing it again. Thank you for joining us today. Whew. Get out and enjoy your day. Every day could be your last. Yeah, we don't want a nuclear World War III. So does getting rid of Iran's nuclear program get us closer to not having World War III? There's an argument that could be made on both sides of that. And I've heard people make that argument. And we'll unpack it again tomorrow. Iran Butterfly. And now a passage from our sermon. This song from Iran Butterfly. In the Garden of Eden. That was Lovejoy. I got to work on my Lovejoy. Okay. I'm going to sign out. Thanks, everybody. To be continued. Follow us in all the places. I appreciate you. I love you. And we will talk again soon. Take care, everyone. And 3, 2, 1, go. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.